Wire harnesses are a labor of love, and I am going to try to finish this thing today as much as we can. I think there's still a couple connectors I need to order and whatnot, but I want to get that thing done with so that way we can move past this boring part of the build, which is wiring. Start moving on to things like fabricating, welding, getting the turbo where we wanted, everything like that. So I came over to the shop the other day. I got more progress done on the harness. For the coil packs that we use Haltech Ignition 1A coil packs. I had to add in about 30 wires for this harness because those coil packs, they need a 12 volt switched signal from the ECM, which is provided in the Haltech harness. You need a battery ground, a cylinder head ground, ECM reference ground, and then you also need the switch, the ignition switch from the ECM to that. So each coil pack has about 5 wires going to it, which is 30 wires in total. So I'd add about, well, as you can tell, a good amount into that harness. Over here, we've got bulkhead connectors. We got some sheathing here, DR25 going out. These are gonna go to the thermofans. I've got injectors 1, 3, and 5 here. We've got the cylinder head reference ground on those green wires. This is everything else I had to add into the harness. So you guys will see black, red, a whole bunch of different fun colors in here that are all going to go to the coil packs. We've got this branch out here, which has like coolant temperature, cylinders 2, 4, 6 for injectors, another cylinder head ground reference, battery grounds, fuel pressure stuff, so a whole bunch of stuff. So I've already built the harness out at this point, so all we need to do is go ahead and start sheathing it and terminating it. So to sheath this, I'm going to be using a combination of DR25 and this very nice braided sleeving that I got from Race Spec. All of these sheathing we're going to be using is motorsports grade quality. And to give you guys like a little bit of a reference here, this is the sheathing that I was using prior. It's okay, you can get it on Amazon. It's like the stretchy kind. It provides some protection to the harness, but it's just not what we're going to be using this time. We are stepping up our wiring harness game, and we are now using all of this very nice sheathing in addition to DR25. Now, if you don't know what DR25 is a 3-to-1 heat shrinkable adhesive lined wire protection device, I guess you could call it. And how this is different from traditional like normal heat shrink you buy at like AutoZone or Amazon is this is chemical resistant and heat resistant up to a certain degree. This is much better for harnessing. This is what a lot of people actually use for harnessing is just DR25. So like I said, we're gonna be using a mixture of DR25 and that really nice sheathing over there to be able to build out this harness. Now, one of the things you wanna keep in mind when building out your harness is branch off points. So you can see this whole section right here is going to have just its own piece of sheathing, the piece of DR25, a branch coming off of it, sheathing or DR25 going up to here. Now right here on this Y where we go to put in the DR25 or the heat shrink, we're going to have to get an epoxy to be able to shoot inside of there to be able to fill out the negative space after we go ahead and shrink it down. Don't want any weathering, chemicals, oil, coolant, anything getting into this harness because it can compromise it over time, and that is one thing that we don't want to happen. So I've learned a lot about doing all this stuff, and I'm sure that a lot of the stuff that I just said about all this wire sheathing and wiring stuff, it probably just went straight over your head because that's how it did with me the first 100 times that I was watching and learning about wiring stuff. But it's so critical to get this stuff right. The engine harness is like the central nervous system, I'd call it, of like a car or an engine, because if one thing shorts out or if one thing goes wrong, you can have catastrophic failure, which our old harness didn't particularly lead to catastrophic failure, but it did play a huge contributing factor because with cylinder 2 not injecting fuel into the engine, that cylinder just got extremely hot. It destroyed the cylinder head from heat, destroyed the piston, the rods, all that stuff. So that's enough talking. Let's get to sheathing so that way we can actually get this thing looking like a proper harness and start figuring it out. I am gonna have to jet back to the house here soon because I do have my labels coming for this harness as well, so we'll do that here in a little bit. So just to show you guys kind of what I'm doing here, I have to take the heat sleeve or the sheathing, the heat shrink, go from one end, slide it down, get it to where I want, and then before I can even like heat shrink that piece, I need to build out this branch. You need to work from the farthest part inward, outward. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to sheath up and get everything nice inside of the harness, and you're going to have a real bad looking harness that's not going to be properly protected. So every time I have one of these branches coming out, you'll probably see a little piece of heat shrink in here that is just for the wire to be able to come out and go to where it needs to. I'm just going to toss you guys on a time lapse for me sheathing up a little bit more of this, because this is very time consuming. I don't think you want to sit here entire video watch me sheath an entire harness. So let me just get kind of through this part. I apologize for all the time lapses, you guys. I'm just trying to get through this wiring. I'm not gonna sit here and tell you it's the greatest automotive harness in the world, but I'm gonna tell you that it is fathoms, miles, light years ahead of where my old one was. Since it's wild. Looking at the harness, you're gonna notice a couple of things, okay? First off, I've covered this before, I'm gonna do it again. Bulkhead connectors come out, mounts to the frame rail. This one will mount to the engine. There still is plenty of room for it to move if it needs to. It's not gonna destroy the harness. We've got a cylinder head ground right here, which will ground out to that 10 mil down there. We've got all injectors for cylinders, or we've got injectors 1, 3, and 5 wired up on this side. They just need to be terminated. Coming off into the main Y, here's where things get a little bit interesting. So we've got one split off coming here. You're gonna notice there's capped on tape right there still. I am going to get an epoxy type of resin for harnesses to be able to backfill in all the negative space inside of that. Right here, I just need to get a bigger piece of heat shrink to be able to connect or finish up that Y right there. Here we've got oil pressure. This is going to be remote mounted to the back of the engine somewhere from this galley here, so that way we don't destroy any oil pressure sensors anymore. We've got our map sensor connector right here, which will go up to the manifold. Here we've got coil packs 1, 3, and 5. We've got knock sensor 1, knock sensor 2 right here, coil packs 2, 4, and 6. Coming off of the main split here, we've got crank position, throttle body, intake air temperature readings, which those ones I still need to do, but just to get the gist, it's going forward or straight. Coming off this back section of the Y, we've got another split here. We've got coolant temperature coming off, going down and around. I still need to do all of this next, but everything in this bundle back here, this is going to be ethanol sensor, this is going to be fuel pressure. We've got injectors 2, 4, 6, another cylinder head ground, 3 battery grounds here, and then cam position, which will wrap under the fuel rail there and then go down to cam position right there. And then we'll have our engine harness complete. And I know this stuff isn't exactly exciting for everyone. I get it. We're not shooting fire out of a turbo. We're not mobbing around in the car. But this is one of the most essential things that we need to ensure gets right on this build this time, so that way we don't have any more catastrophic failures like an injector failing, sync loss, all that kind of stuff. So let me jump back on a time lapse with you guys. I'm going to get this side of the harness all done. Then we're going to swing back to the house and grab our labels for all of these, so that way we can properly label this harness to make sure it is easy to follow, so that way you really can't mess anything up. I didn't label the last one. I just kind of guessed where everything went, and that's not a smart way of doing it. So this time we're gonna do everything proper, label it all, make sure it's all solid. Check this out. We have a fully sheathed harness. I mean, it's not fully sheathed. I still have to backfill some of it with epoxy, like specifically just the bigger joints. I just need to backfill with epoxy and then I kind of want to get like a protective fitting for that. I'm not 100% sure what I'm going to do right there yet, but I'll do something. But dude, look at how like way more professional this thing looks. This is insane. So my labels should be at the house to be able to label everything on this. I'm gonna take the harness back to the house. Hopefully USPS dropped it off. If they did, get this thing all labeled up, and then we can start terminating this, and we can actually finish this harness. This is by far the most beautiful thing I've ever built. I'll show you guys this in better light once we get back to the house. So let me get that thing warmed up. Let's get out of here. So what we have right here is some high-speed shit, baby. So these are all heat shrinkable labels that we're gonna be putting on the harness. We can label cam, crank, intake cam, exhaust cam. Oh, we just have one, we just have cam. Cam, crank, injectors, coil packs, air temp, oil temp, flex fuel. Whole bunch of stuff's gonna be on here. So we're gonna take those, come over here and start labeling all of these for what they go to. Once all of this is labeled, we can go ahead and start terminating it and actually turn this into a usable harness. Because right now it is a harness, it's just not usable because there's no connections on anything. Got the new harness all labeled here. If you come down here, you can see everything is labeled. Coil 1, coil something, coil 3, knock 2, knock 1, coil 2, 4, 6. Literally every wire on here is now labeled, with the exception of cylinder head grounds, because I only had one ground and I used that for that one over there. But dude, look how freaking professional that looked. Would you buy this? Maybe, I don't know. It's not done yet. It's not even close to being done yet, but swing back to the shop and start terminating this thing so that way it can actually look like a real harness. Back, I got the whole harness back here, so I'm gonna go through and start getting connections put on all of these. I'm gonna have to reference a lot of documents to figure out where they're all going. I've got all of my Haltech stuff. I think I threw it all in the back seat for the most part back here. So the way I'm gonna do this is come in here, grab a Haltech bag, be like, okay, this is a coil pack connector, and then wire on a coil pack, and then keep going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. This will probably take me a couple hours, so I'm just gonna get to town and get to terminating this thing, so that way we can get done with harnesses, because your boy's getting pretty tired of these things. I want to save my soul. I have been working on this harness for the past 4 hours, pinning, crimping, getting connections on here, and let me say, I am so fucking proud of this. Compared to the last harness that I did, this is wildly better. Wildly. And if I build another one, guess what? It'll be even better. Because each time I do this, I learn more. But this, dude, I'm like hella content with this one. I'm super happy with it. All right, let me walk you through what we got here. So, bulkhead connectors. Boost controller. This is going to go to thermo fans. I'm going to have 2 more wires coming out of that are going to ground to the chassis to be the grounds for the fans. We've got injector 5, 3, 1. All of them pass the tug test. We have a cylinder head ground right there. Coming over here, I need to order a coolant temperature sensor pin and plug kit because I only have these pigtails and I don't want to use pigtails and put crimps on everything. I'd rather just pin it all up like this. Coming down the harness more, we've injector 6, another cylinder head ground, injector cylinder 4, injector cylinder 2, battery ground, ethanol sensor, fuel pressure. This one, same thing. I need to order a plug and pin kit for cam and crank because crank is the same way right now. And for drive-by-wire, I don't want to use a pigtail on these things. We have air temperature sensor here. We've got oil pressure on that one. We've got map sensor, oil temperature sensor, coil pack, coil pack, coil pack, coil pack, coil pack, coil pack. I need to order the knock sensor plug and pin kit. And that is our engine harness, you guys. I'm gonna take this home with me so I can show Melanie because she's gonna be proud of me. Maybe, I don't know. I'm tired. I'm gonna go back to the house and we'll pick this up in the morning to test fit this. It's like 11 o'clock right now. I'm pretty wiped, dude. My brain hurts. I'm gonna order the epoxy to be able to backfill all of the connections for the harness so that way we can just get this thing done with. But dude, so freaking happy with this. So I've got our harness installed in here, like how it will go permanently. There's only one small issue that I'm going to correct, and it's super easy to do. So to start with, everything mates up nicely there, goes to the frame rail, goes down both to the engine there. From there, we've got our injector harnesses that all go down right there, and they fit absolutely beautiful. On this side, same way, except for cylinder 4, which I'm going to correct that. This wire is just a little bit too tight for my liking just because of the fuel damper. So maybe I'll get rid of the fuel dampers. I don't know. I mean, I could just make that wire a little bit longer, but I don't like doing that. So I'll figure something out for it. Worst case scenario, I can just pull, actually I think I know how to fix that. I'll fix that in a minute. Underneath of our manifold here, let me move this guy. Underneath the manifold, we've got all of our, well, I guess the rest of the harness, I should say. So crank position coming out, that'll go right up here to the oil pump. However, the oil pump will be up there. We've got our drive-by wire, which will come up and go there. Intake air temp, which will go to the intercooler piping there. Coil packs, knock, knock. Map oil pressure and oil temperature, all right there. And then up here, obviously, fuel pressure and ethanol. So, dude, we got a harness made. I love the fact that once the manifold's back on, you really can't see any of it except for like the drive-by wire right here, which goes perfectly to the sensor, the IAT, and you may be able to see, you won't even be able to see crank position. So dude, this thing, dude, it's just so perfect compared to the last one. I'm so happy with this. I'm so freaking happy with this thing. Last night I went ahead and I ordered the epoxy for the harness. I ordered the last of the connectors I needed, so that way once all that stuff comes in, our engine harness is done and beautifully tucked and beautifully wired and professional as fuck. I'm so happy with it. So that will wrap up like the wiring stuff for this car, thankfully. That means we have like the annoying part out of the way. Next up for us to tackle, since we're still waiting for the motor to come back, is going to be the fuel system. It's going to be rerunning fuel lines, fuel pressure regulator mounting, ethanol sensor mounting, all of that fun stuff there. I got the pass by, you guys will see in a future video, and then once fuel system's done, we can move on to fabrication. Once fabrication is done, we can go on to engine bay cleaning, and once engine bay cleaning is complete, we put the new motor in, we put it all together, and blue comes back to life, baby. So that's all I got for you guys on this one. I'm super pumped with the harness, especially compared to this old one that I made as a reference. Like, this is embarrassing. It doesn't look good. We live and we learn. And I know a lot of people are like, wiring seems so scary. I was the exact same way when I first started wiring. Now, if you gave me like a wire harness to build, I'd be like, okay, give me like 3-4 days to work on it like straight and I can get it done. I think in the future, if I ever go to build another engine harness, I'm not going to start out with the base Haltech harness like I did on this one. I think I'll start just building it from scratch using Tefzel only. The Haltech wiring harness is okay, but it's all silicone based, and I don't like silicone based wire. After using Tefzel, I've become a wiring snob, and you know what? There's nothing wrong with that, because better wiring is better, more reliable, which in turn gives us a solid setup, which I'm happy with. So that's all I got for you guys on this one. If you liked the video, you know what to do. Go and hit that like button. Turn your black, blue, green, yellow, purple, silver, cyan, whatever color it turns for you. And if you're not already subscribed to the channel and you want to be, I'll put it in one of these corners. No idea which one quite yet, but with that, I will catch you guys in the next one. So peace out, homies. Woo!